The year was 1900, specifically on the 28th. Arthur Spiderwick is introduced as a man who authored a field guide, a detailed book about organisms and life forms thriving in nature. He compiled precise observations, particularly about fairies. He even uncovered that these fairies resided nearby. To protect this information, he meticulously documented it in a diary and securely locked it away, aware that a malevolent creature, the goblin leader, sought the book to unleash sinister powers. 80 years later, Helen Grace enters the scene. She moves into the same residence, the house formerly belonging to Arthur Spiderwick. Helen is revealed to be his granddaughter, and the property has become hers following her divorce. Helen moves in with her daughter Mallory and her twin sons Jared and Simon. However, Jared is deeply unhappy about living there. He is perpetually angry as he wants to stay with his father. Upon entering the house, he notices salt lines on the windows and walls, which strikes them as rather odd. It is said to have been done by their eccentric grandfather Arthur Spiderwick. Arthur was rumored to be an unconventional man. One day, he was allegedly killed, leading his daughter to spiral into madness, claiming fairies had abducted him. Following this, bizarre incidents began, items disappearing from the house. Everyone suspected Jared, as he had been unhappy about moving there. One night, while Jared was in his room, he felt a presence from the other side of the wall. He scratched the wall and someone on the other side seemed to be scratching it back. But just then, his mom doesn't respond and his elder sister Mallory appears there. They say they were cleaning the house, which caused those noises. Jared tells Mallory that there's someone behind the wall. Then they hit the wall with sticks and the wall collapses. Behind the wall, they find all their lost belongings. Everyone then assumes that Charity had hidden those items, so they leave the place. Later, Jared notices the broken part of the wall. It turns out to be a dumbwaiter that was used to carry things up and down. There, he also finds a key. Eventually, he rides the dumbwaiter and reaches a room upstairs, which turns out to be the room he was searching for, the one from 80 years ago. His mother's grandfather, Arthur Spiderwick, used to write books in this room. There, Jared finds a box which contains the key he had discovered earlier. When he opens the box, he finds the diary written by Arthur Spiderwick, documenting various facts about mysterious creatures. On top of the diary, there's an envelope. Written on it is a warning, but before Jared can finish reading it, he hears a sound from behind. Turning back, he sees a message saying, "Leave this place." Simultaneously, his flashlight starts moving on its own, which terrifies him. Quickly, he exits the area and goes to his brother Simon to explain everything. However, Simon thinks he's making it all up. At this point, Jared notices the envelope had a note warning that the diary should never be read, otherwise one's life could be at risk. Ignoring the warning, Jared breaks the seal of the diary. At that exact moment, the magical protection around the house begins to shatter. This protection was established 80 years ago by Arthur Spiderwick. Arthur had created a magical protective barrier around the house back then. Now it has been broken. Jared starts reading the diary next. It describes how there are many hidden creatures. It takes a special way to see them. However, the creatures don't disappear. People see them as tigers, and one of them is the main culprit. He can change his form. Moreover, he is the leader of those goblins and wants to control the dark forces. In his Spiderwick diary, he wrote that the more he learned about these creatures, the greater the threat to his family's lives. Meanwhile, when Janet was reading the book, she suddenly heard her sister screaming from her room. She rushed there and saw that her sister's hair was tied to the bed by someone. Everyone suspects Jared did it, but his brother says Jared was in his room for the last 2 hours reading the book, so he couldn't have done it. He tries to explain to everyone that there are many mysterious invisible creatures here. They reveal the sketches of these creatures from the diary to prove their point. Yet nobody believes them. Later, he realizes that alongside our world, there must exist another unknown realm. Perhaps that's why there's so much honey kept in this house, because the creatures seem to love honey. So, he decides to leave some food mixed with honey in one spot and wait. He hopes the creatures will get caught, but even after waiting for a long time, no one comes. Eventually, he falls asleep. When he wakes up, he sees that the food he had placed is gone and the area is scattered with scraps. While searching for the thieves, he looks at the table and finds a strange mouse-like creature sitting there, which can speak like a human. Jared gets scared seeing it. The creature also gets scared seeing Jared and suddenly disappears. Afterward, Jared says, "I won't harm you." The creature appears in front of him, but it remains invisible. Jared asks why he can't see it. The creature replies, "Because I don't want you to see me," then makes itself visible and reveals its name. But when Thimbletack saw the diary in Jared's hand, the one Arthur Spitewick wrote 80 years ago, he became furious, he said, and he had told Jared to hide the diary safely so that it wouldn't fall into anyone else's hands. He even placed a warning on the diary. Yet, Cherry had opened it anyway. Now, it's certain that the secret of the diary has spread beyond the inner circle, and Jared will try to possess it at any cost. He warns JD that the diary must never be taken outside the circle of protection. In fact, this time around, there's a magical circle made of stone at Wanapwak within which no goblin or mulka can enter. Just at that moment, they notice through the window that Jared's brother has gone beyond the protection of the circle. And there he's being attacked by some invisible creatures which they couldn't see. But Thimbletack stays. He offers the magical stone of Wanapwak through which he sees several goblins capturing his brother. In an act to save his brother, Jared starts running and crosses the circle of protection, ignoring Thimble's warning. At that moment, Jared had the diary with him too. He arrives at the place where many goblins have imprisoned his brother. There he meets another goblin who was also captured. His name is Hawk. Hawk wants to destroy the mulgar tree because Mulgarak had killed his entire family. Meanwhile, Cherry sprinkles something in Jared's eyes. As a result, Cherry can see all the goblins even without the magical stone. Afterward, the goblins taking Jared's brother summon a creature named Grunt, who rises from beneath the ground. He looks entirely human-like and tells Hawk's coil that he will appear exactly how you want him to look according to your imagination. Grunt is capable of taking the appearance of any person. Meanwhile, Grunt tells JD to hand over the diary he has. JD responds that he doesn't have the diary. They search him, but indeed they fail to find any diary on him. He made a serious threat, saying if you fail to deliver the diary, he would eliminate your entire family, and subsequently departed from him. Eventually, the goblins explained it was an error. They had captured the incorrect twin, as the diary was in fact with his brother. Malkarat commanded them, "Ensure you retrieve the diary at all costs and then wipe out the entire family." Meanwhile, somehow he managed to reach his brother Simon. Simon wanted the diary to be handed over to Mulkarat in any way possible so their family might survive. However, those who stopped him from doing so were suddenly attacked by many goblins. To save themselves, they ran toward home, trying to reach the safety of the protective circle. Jared somehow made it inside the circle, but Simon remained outside and a goblin bit his leg, injuring him severely. They managed to pull him inside the circle, but then they saw their sister Mallory still outside, holding a sword while surrounded by many goblins attacking her. Jared handed Mallory the magical stone to help her fight them. Mallory could now see everything and fought off the goblins with her sword. Eventually, she was also pulled inside the safety of the circle. At that moment, all three of them were safe. Simon then suggested once again, "We should hand over the diary to Mulkarat. That way we can all survive." Just then, Thimble appeared and warned, "If you give them the diary, they will still kill your entire family." They decided to burn the diary in front of the goblins. They threw the diary into the fire, but the diary didn't burn. Instead, the flames extinguished on their own. Now they decided to visit their aunt, whose mental state had deteriorated. However, going outside the circle was very dangerous. So, first they put the diary back in its original place and handed the key to Thimble. Then Jared and Mallory took a secret path to escape. But as soon as they got outside, the goblins spotted them and started chasing them. They ran away and reached their aunt. There they saw many beautiful fairies. Then their aunt said, "When I was young, my father used to research these matters. He knew about many hidden creatures in this secret world, and he wrote a diary about them at Wanapwak. Later, he realized that if this fell into the wrong hands, it could make someone the most powerful in the world and they would take control over the whole planet. So my father created a magical protective boundary around our house at Wanhodi through which no evil force could enter. But one day while playing, I made a mistake. I went outside the protective circle and then Goblina attacked me. To save me, my father was compelled to step outside that circle. At that exact moment, some fairies took him away, as they did not want anyone to know or document anything about them. Somehow I managed to return inside the circle, but after a few days I went into the forest again to search for my father. There, Goblina attacked me again and injured my arm. When I told the police that Goblina attacked me, everyone thought I was crazy. After that, I was sent to a mental asylum for some time. I also said that I never read that diary, so there was no risk to my life. But you've read this book. Now your life is in danger. If you want to save yourself and your family, you must find the Earth Sprite's wick by any means, because only he can destroy the car. Then Jack said, "But he's over 125 years old by now. Surely he's passed away." Aunt then said, "No, he's still alive. He's in the fairies' world, and there people don't die so easily." Just then, Chaya was standing by the window. Out of nowhere, a goblin attempted to ambush her and seize the tile she was holding. Fortunately, her aunt courageously hurled salt at the creature during that very moment. After that, he manages to escape from the place. However, he carries a few diary pages with him. Sometime later, Jared's Mallory gets back home only to find no goblin within the protective circle. This makes Chaya believe that something is unquestionably amiss at One Oak Walk, and just then, the Hog School makes its entrance. At some point, these creatures can be seen, and he tells Jared's sister that he is taking the governor's diary pages. Upon seeing those, they now know the core secret of how to enter the protective circle. Very soon, they will attack your house. That's when the kids realize they must find Arthur at any cost. They read a passage from the diary, something to be recited in another language. Once those words are recited, Griffin shows up at 1 o'clock and ushers them into a fantastical realm where Arthur Spiderwick is still alive. Shocked, he learns that 80 years have gone by. They explain to Arthur that the diary must be eradicated as it is endangering their entire family. But when they look into the diary, they realize it's not the original one. Actually, the Thimbletack had swapped it with a fake. Then they understand that they should return home as soon as possible since the goblins are preparing to attack their house soon. Meanwhile, their mother is also arriving saying, "I won't be allowed to leave because I know too much about the diary." She says, "I've read it. I'll destroy everything that's here, and you must leave now." Then she starts destroying all the letters kept there. Sir then takes Jared and his siblings on the back of the giant bird and they return home. Once there, they see the goblins digging holes outside their house, trying to enter the protective circle. And just at that moment, their mother arrives there, but they quickly pull their mother's car inside the protective circle. They then show her all the goblins. That's when everyone realizes a major attack is imminent at 1 o'clock, so they start sprinkling salt at every entrance of the house. On the side, they knew goblins could be defeated with a special 1 o'clock tomato sauce mixture, so they prepared a lot of that sauce beforehand. Salt at all house entrances prevented goblins from entering that way. As a result, they began digging under the house to enter through the floor. Then Jared's family attacked them by throwing that sauce. But the number of goblins was so overwhelming that they eventually hid in the kitchen. There they stored up a lot of gas, and when all the goblins entered inside, they ignited a fire, causing the entire area to explode. All those goblins melted away and died. Afterward, Thimbletack returned with the original beard. Just then, someone knocked on the door. When the door opened, it was their father standing there. Looking at the state of the house, he asked, "What's happening here?" They replied, "Everything is happening because of this diary." Then Jared's father tried to take the diary, but Jared stopped him and said, "First tell me what you promised to tell me later." Then his father responded, "I only wanted to tell you this. I love you very much." But Jared realized it wasn't his real father. He said, "Full answer," and immediately attacked him with a knife. That revealed the truth. It was actually the main villain who began escaping upward. Jared chased after him, and the villain transformed into a snake-like tree and started following Jared Jared was scaling the roof but nearly slipped off. Just then, he noticed Hawk School in the distance. Throwing the diary, the main antagonist morphed into a bird and snatched it mid-air before it touched the ground. However, as he tried to escape with the diary, Hawk School seized him and consumed him, as Hawk School devours only birds. The villain was finally defeated, and Habu's quail was able to take revenge for his entire family. Afterward, everything returned to normal. Then they went to meet their ring, whom everyone had considered crazy all this time. The next morning, it became evident that they had returned. They announced, "The main villain is dead. The diary is completely safe now. That's why I was able to come back. But I can't stay in this world any longer, as now my age is 125 years old according to this world's reckoning. So I have to return." Then Arthur's daughter said, "I'll go with you this time. I don't want to live without you any longer." Arthur agreed. The daughter then transformed back into the little child she had been when Arthur left her. Hand in hand, the father and daughter joyfully and peacefully made their way back to the enchanting fairy realm. And so, the story drew to a close. I truly hope you found enjoyment